Most. Let's see everyone's hands. If you're a 3, raise your hand, 2 second count. If you're a 4, raise your hand. It was really tight, so we could do both. Okay, for 3 is asking for the domain of the following ordered pairs. 5, -2, 3, -5, 2, -5, 0, -2, -1. So if we're looking for the domain, what are we looking for?
The X.
The x's. And because we have ordered pairs, the way we write our domain with ordered pairs is we list them from least to greatest. So what is the least or the lowest x value? -1. And then 0. So I'm going to cross them out as we do them. And then, yes. Remember, there should be no repeats when you list them from least to greatest. So later when we do range, keep that in mind. For number 4, it asks us to solve for y. How would we get y by itself? Add 2x to both sides. 3y equals -12 plus 2x. And then divide everything by 3. So in this case, because it just said solve for y, I didn't care if you did this. Or if you actually divided both out. So dividing everything by 3, we get -4 plus 2/3 x. Either one of those is fine. Yes. That is also fine. So let's do this. Any of those are fine. But you only need 1. Don't write all 4. Okay, make sure you have those 2 answers written down for 3 and for 4. And pass up your answer sheets. So with this, these are just going to show you the overlapping section. That's fine if you have the others. You just need to know which section is your solution. If you can, try to just do the overlapping. Like maybe if you're using Desmos, just do the overlapping. But if you were drawing it by hand, then do both. Okay, so for number 1, you should have gotten this section right here. This line should have been steeper, solid, shaded above. This line, not as steep, dashed line, shaded above also. For number 2, they were parallel lines. I know we did these 2 together. They were parallel lines, but really the solution was the one where both of them overlapped, which was the furthest part. They were both dashed lines. For number 3, it was the overlap was just this section right here. Both dashed lines. This line was shaded above. This line was shaded below. For number 4, it should have been this section with the overlap. Both lines should have been dashed. One was a positive slope, one was a negative slope. Your positive slope was shaded below, your negative slope was shaded above. Questions on those 4? Seven, this section right here should have been your overlap. One of your lines should have been solid, one should have been dashed. The solid line was shaded above, the dashed line was shaded above as well. The 2 equations, after you solve that, I'm going to write those down. So one was y is greater than 3x minus 3, and your other one y is greater than or equal to 1/2 x plus 2. So remember to change the direction of your sign when you divide by a negative. Remember to change your negatives. For number 8, these lines both were parallel. Because they had the same slope, just different y-intercepts. And for your line that's dashed, you're shading below. And for your line that's solid, you're shading above. So it would literally be in between those 2. That will happen sometimes. So just pay attention to that. Questions on those 2? Wasn't it 10? I skipped. These 2 were the ones I skipped. So this area for number 5 and this area for number 6 should have been your overlap. Your second equation for inequality for number 5 was y is greater than negative 4x plus 1. Your first equation for number 6 was y is less than or equal to negative x plus 1. Yes.
How did it be shaded below?
For 6. This one? Yeah, this is less than. Other questions on those? My answer key is a little weird for the last 4 because the graphs aren't showing. But you can check your equations with these, except I need to solve those 2. So for 9 was y is greater than negative 2/3 x minus 3, and y is less than x plus 2. For number 10, your two inequalities were y is greater than or equal to negative 4/3 x minus 1, and y is less than or equal to negative 4/3 x plus 1. However you solved it, or whenever you solved it, you should have known that the slopes would at least be the same, because they're parallel lines. And y-intercept's different. Do we have questions on those two? And then for 11 and 12, I'm going to do 12 first. 12 equations where y is less than or equal to negative 3/2 x plus 2, and y is greater than x minus 3. I need to solve these really fast so I can show you what these were. For number 11, your two inequalities should have been y is greater than or equal to positive 3/2 x plus 2, and y is less than or equal to negative 1/2 x minus 2. Do we have questions on those two? So when we get back from lunch, we're going to be reviewing, but not in the sense that we normally do, because my throat hurts. So we're really just going to review some inequality word problems, and then I'm going to let you guys work on the others, coming to me when you have questions. So I'm going to pass that out, and you can go grab your problems. The second one is graphing linear inequalities. And then the third is systems of linear inequalities. You will have access to your calculator and Desmos. For those, just like last test, if you use Desmos, you still need to graph it completely. I want us to do these two problems together. And then you guys will have chances to come ask questions. I think it's on the back of the packet. Okay. For number 1, read along with me. Lisa enjoys gardening. Every sunflower plant she waters requires 0.7 liters of water, and every lily plant she waters requires 0.5 liters of water. Lisa has a total of 11 liters of water for these plants. Write an inequality using S to represent the number of sunflower plants Lisa can water, and L to represent the number of lily plants Lisa can water. And then it says Lisa waters 10 lily plants. How many sunflower plants can she water at most with the remaining amount? What's important here?
The total of 11 liters.
Total of 11 liters.
0.5 for the leaves.
0.5 for lilies.
And then 0.7 for sunflowers.
0.7 for sunflowers. Anything else?
The variables.
The variables. S for sunflower, L for lilies. before we get into this, let's write our system, or write our inequalities. You did not get. It's on the back of that. Okay. Anyone want to take a guess as to what one of the inequalities may be? I saw Alex and then I saw Sophia.
L is 0.7 L.
Okay.
0.5 x.
Plus 0.5 S.
That's bigger.
And then is less than or equal to 10.
Why do you say less than or equal to?
Because you can't pour more water than 10.
Correct. So remember that these are inequalities. So we shouldn't have equals. I said this was a system, but I don't think that's true. I think it's just one, actually. Yeah, it was just one. It wasn't a system. Yes. You are correct. So the hardest part about that is really finding the inequality. Once you have it, use what they give you to find your answer. So we know she watered 10 lily plants, so we can put that in for L. And we need to figure out how many sunflower plants can she water at most with the remaining amount. So let's solve. 0.5 times 10 is what?
5.
How would I solve this for S?
Combine them.
Subtract 5. Remember to keep your inequality throughout. Don't lose it. Don't change it. 6. I don't know what number I was. And then to solve for S,
Divide by 0.7 plus stuff.
divide by 0.7. What is that?
Like, I guess 4.5.
Now, is this a realistic number for this problem? No. So, how many sunflower plants could she water? Not 8? 8. So just round to the nearest whole number, either round down or round up, but remember it depends on your inequality. If it's at most, you can't go more than 11. You could also check it. If you round up, it would be going over, but if it's at least, you can keep going up and it doesn't matter. I did want to also show you how this would look if you were asked to graph it, or if there were graphs with it. So just like with our systems, when you were graphing them and you had different variables, you could have also graphed them as long as you changed the variables to x and y, same thing. So if we change that first, if we change s to x and L to y, then we can use Desmos. we did before, you don't need to necessarily solve this to see where it is. Because these are X and Y, you need to know a few things about this graph. The X's represent how many sunflowers she could water up until she can't. The Y's represent how many lilies she could water until she can't. But it's also depending on the liters. Remember that also is why this is so high. So what this is saying is at 22, if she didn't water any sunflower plants, she could water 22 lilies. At, I said 15 and a half. Well, let's go 15. At 15, if she didn't water any lilies, she could water 15 sunflower plants. So it just depends on the graph. You could graph it to see those answers as well. You could also use this when it gave you 10. What did we get? 8. So when X is 10, but that was backwards. We're looking for sunflower. If we were looking for sunflower and we knew the amount of lilies, we could look at when Y is 10, X is, and follow that line down. Yeah. Yes. So the graphing is optional and you may have problems with the graphs, but you should be able to read it based on that. Do we have any questions on that word problem? Now number 2 we've done already, so it's really just a repeat. I want you to take a second, read it, see if you can set it up. Use your other notes if you need to help set it up, and then we'll solve it together. Okay. How did we set this up? Just greater than? Yeah. So in these cases, you can do or equal to. So that should have been your inequality. And then when you solved it, subtract 1,300. X had to be greater than or equal to what number? 517.5. We talked about this before, that it's number of hours, so it could have a decimal, or you could round it up to 518. So for the rest of class, you have time to work through that review packet. Come ask me any questions you have. If you feel like you need more practice than just that, I have systems of inequality practice you could do around the room. You need to come see me for that. Use your phone for Desmos so that you can practice it if you're going to use it on the test. Use your calculator, practice those. The instructions for that is in your systems notes. But come see me if you have questions.